cameras for our weekly political breakdown, as Shaney calls it. It is our political guru, Dean Pepicello.
I make people break down.
Yeah. If we're not in tears by the end of your tenure every week, we're in trouble,
Tears
right?
of laughter or shame or why do we keep inviting this?
Yeah, why?
It's the way I look. There's a lot of reasons you'd be crying over me, Joel. Let's be honest.
Exactly. How are you?
I feel good. 3 weeks removed from a major heart attack.
How about those Seawolves, huh? 5 in a row?
Now, again, I didn't work the last homestand.
Right.
Maybe I'll work the next one. So here's what'll happen. I'll work a couple of games. They'll lose them both, and it'll be my fault. That's how it's going to play out.
We're going to just throw it right at you.
Yep.
I totally agree.
I will be the jinx, but that's awesome. Cold, man. It was a cold homestand. It's so tough sometimes, but people showed up. They love it.
April baseball is just tough in Erie, PA.
Yeah.
We had that beautiful, what was it? Was it last year, Shane? Or where we had opening day was like 70?
It was so nice,
was
and we
so
weren't
nice.
there.
Right. Right. And then straight downhill. We get punished for that here. We had the seventh rainiest April ever, I think, in our history. It's been.
Oh, really? Okay.
The water's been tough with the full-time job.
Right.
Supervisor.
Okay.
It's been tough. Holy cow. So it'd be nice if we got a little dryness. I don't think it's going to happen over the next couple of days. But
we're going to start local and then work our way out. Again, I want you to weigh in on Mill Creek, if you would. And I know I put you in a dicey spot, but I don't care.
Come on.
You're here, baby.
Yeah.
So Mill Creek chose this is not the study commission now. This is the transition team, if you will. And they're going to be kind of like making, I guess I don't even really know what their function is, but it's an advisory board to the supervisors, it sounds like. Right?
Okay.
Again, it's got to be weird, you're 3 people in power, and now you've got this other organization that's going to tell you how you're going to live post 2028.
Yeah. Well, the other things were far more important. The study committee was far more important. Commission,
right?
Because they're making a recommendation, which obviously it was acted upon. So that's very influential. And then the election. Who will the 5 supervisors be? This particular transition, I'm not sure exactly what they'll do. Maybe they'll write. I don't really know, because the form of government is decided. Be 5 supervisors and a manager, right? I believe that's decided.
That's what they decided.
The voters decided that.
Yes.
And then they'll have to live to the same Bible the rest of us do. That is the second-class township code, and that's
and I guess there must be paragraphs and phrases in that township code that allows for different forms, this optional form or something like. I keep on, people are bringing these things up on social media. You're trying to track it, but unless you dive deep into code, you wouldn't know what the heck they were talking about.
I would assume then that code is very basic. It basically says you can put a streetlight tax in. You can have a streetlight district. You have to do, you shall, it says, pave roads and do all of those things. So I suspect they'll look at the structure of that government, maybe what particular elected person might oversee what department. Maybe that's how it plays out. How will assistant managers work? How will departments work? Will there be foremen or women? I would assume they'll look at the structure of how it operates. But at the end of the day, you have to live to the second-class township code, and there have to be 5 elected people making those decisions. So I don't know what really happens in this process, but to me, it's far less important than what happened with the study commission, and then ultimately who gets elected, who's making the decisions.
Right.
That's the next key decision. So I'm sure there are hard feelings. Art Ullageri certainly lobbied to be on that. John Groh was in that group. Sue Weber. There were a lot of folks, I think, who I don't know everybody who applied. But I think it's a reasonable overview. John DePlacido, I think, was on the study commission. Again, I'm not out there on all these things. Brian McGrath, I worked with a long time. He's a really bright individual.
He's a former supervisor.
Absolutely,
right?
20, 24 years, whatever he did. A long time, knows his way around. I'm not surprised, but that he applied. He's getting pulled back in. But I think he probably feels a sense of duty. So we'll see where they go. But I think the difficult work has already been done and has yet to come in the election.
Again, there'll be an election in 2027 with the concept of there'll be three members of that trustee or supervisor board,
Right.
that will be elected because Jim Bach and Dr. Kylie Morris will have time remaining on their current 6-year plan.
Yeah, they finished their terms.
They finished their terms.
Not as full-time employees, potentially.
But as township
as supervisors. Right,
yeah.
right.
Pretty interesting stuff.
It should be seamless. Matt Waldinger, I saw his quote saying from Mill Creek saying, hey, at the end of the day, the taxpayer, the resident should notice very little. And that's true. Other than who's sitting there making decisions. Obviously, that's crucially important.
But hopefully the township workers, the staff will be executing as they always have. Police and fire.
Should be seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up one more point from Mill Creek is that I think it was the last township meeting before this special meeting, there was some chatter about, we need to really have a more civil environment in our conversations here at supervisors. And so at least people are starting to recognize that the tenor of the conversation can really, the drama needs to come down a bit. And hopefully this will be another step towards that.
Are you insinuating drama on both sides or one side?
Well, no. I basically I'm just quoting what some citizens to be heard said that they actually remarked about the level of drama, at those meetings.
You've got some characters, I think, that have been regular attendees.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there have been massive consequential decisions from that board that may or may not work out.
Right.
And that happens sometimes when you make those decisions. Very opinionated. People are opinionated about the federal government, right? Particularly the president, but they're very opinionated about their local government.
Oh, yeah.
And when you make decisions which change the course of your little municipality, it gets people's attention. It ruffles feathers. Whether it's right, wrong, or different all remains to be seen. So none of that really surprises me. But you have to understand, the decision people made at the ballot box was to change the form of government was massive.
That was a titanic decision.
Exactly. So to think that, yes, should the rhetoric settle down? Sure, the rhetoric should always settle down. But I'm not surprised by the vitriol at all. I think it's not going away yet. It's going to come back. The election is going to be incredibly spirited. Right. Because people will have very different views. There are very different views on this transition committee, right? Dennis McAndrew is going to be different maybe than whoever, right? Whatever. I think they're well thought out people. Hopefully they have a good cross section. They make decent decisions, but it's not going away.
No.
That rancor in Mill Creek is not going away yet.
Yeah, you're probably right. Let's pivot to the state. And we'll get to federal and we'll get to world politics in a second here, but Garrity and Shapiro are going at each other. We mentioned last week that there was a town hall that Stacey Garrity attended. Governor Shapiro decided to pass on that, and that was the township supervisor conclave, if you will. Again, this will all get hashed out in the fall. If you're Josh Shapiro's campaign manager, are you just kind of like laying low, getting through this race because the eyes are on the prize in 28?
If I'm Josh Shapiro's campaign manager and I have whatever the number is, 30 million to 2 million, I don't know what the numbers are, right, in funds, but there's a large disparity, and I lead in the polls by 30 points, whatever. I don't know what the number is, but it's not 2%, right?
Right. And
the money's not even. If I'm that manager and Josh Shapiro wants to run for president in 28, let's make all of those assumptions. Then I spend all of my time running for president in 28. Right. That's what I'm doing. Because I'm not worried about the governorship. I'm going to win that. So everything I do will be about that. I suspect maybe his non-appearance at the Township Supervisors Association, which is generally very conservative, was about, I'm not going to get trapped by this group because I'm running for president.
And again, it would be sitting with my opponent. Basically, it was not separate meetings. It was a back and forth right there, and so you're providing gravitas to your opponent. And,
Josh Shapiro has had a few wins for rural Pennsylvania. He has. Not many, but some. Tom Wolf had none. Like, there was none. It was straight liberalism, end of story.
Wow.
So I really suspect he wouldn't have had any problem sitting. Maybe you avoid your opponent because, right, you don't want to give them some sort of credibility. I get that argument. But if he weren't thinking about 28 and president, I think he goes to that debate and holds his own, even in an unfair and unfriendly crowd. Mm-hmm. I think it's about 28. I think about 28. I think his decisions are about 28. And the governorship at this point, unless something changes to them, is a foregone conclusion. He would never say that, but I think that's the political reality.
Talk about where Stacey Garrity is at. Isn't the whole thing of him kind of waltzing in kind of lead to her advantage of, okay, he's really not taking this very seriously?
I mean, it's yes, but where's it gaining ground? That's the issue.
You're talking about Stacey's campaign?
Yes. That's the campaign I would run. It would also be, I'm the highest vote getter, woman, military.
Yeah. She's got all the credentials. Office. She's probably the most qualified governor running for office. Heck, probably beats Corbett even, and right. Corbett won,
But there doesn't seem to be the traction. The money's not there yet.
Yeah.
The polling doesn't seem to match. Again, we haven't gotten to the primary yet, right? So are people really thinking about it? No. She's still probably the best candidate, clearly at this point. You have to understand, Josh Shapiro is very popular. He just is. I know that may drive many people crazy in this audience in particular, but he's very popular. And that's the reality of what they're dealing with and have to overcome.
And he's been smart in those first couple of years in office of making sure he's in all the counties and he's in the media markets and he's dropping checks in Erie, PA
for
$9 million for our market house and so on like that. Let's get a phone call. Hi, you're live on Talk Erie. Hello.
Hey, Joe. I'm sorry. I tried listening, but I couldn't listen anymore. No one's going to beat Josh Shapiro, not Doug Mellon Mastriano, and not Stacey Garrity. Josh Shapiro will never be president of these United States. So he can run all he wants, but he'll never be president of the United States. What I wish, if you're reelected governor, you should have to give up that position if you want to run for president of the United States. Mm-hmm. Now, hey, Dino, getting back to Mill Creek for a minute, if I could. I know you know all them people, and you support them. After all, they are the Mill Creek Swamp, as far as I'm concerned. All you have to do is look at the names, former elected officials or their wives. Why can't the people vote and put these people on a board? Why do we have public officials who pick other former public officials and their wives and their friends to be on boards? I just don't get that. But that's the way Erie rolls. Well, actually, everybody rolls like that. But hey, Dino, I'm glad you're back. And I do have a message from the Seawolves, I mean. I was going to call them Wild Things. I was thinking Washington Wild Things, where I'm from.
Yep.
But the Seawolves, I have a message. They're asking you to stay away from right now. They've won 5 in a row.
Yep.
And just stay away for a while until they're on a losing streak, and then you can come back and let everyone know where the restrooms and stuff are.
I guarantee it. Thanks, man. To answer the one question that he managed to jam in the abuse that he gives me for a minute and a half. You can't have elections for everything. You had an election for the study commission. You have an election for the actual supervisors. I mean, how many times are people going to do the ballot on this thing? So that's the thing.
Again, they elect supervisors to function, and they have all kinds of boards and authorities and commissions and so on. All right, Dino's with us. Back in a bit here. It's Talk Erie. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. Dino's with us. Dean Pepicello, our political guru, 814-679-1080. Dean, as we went to air today, I got a release from Chris Carroll at Laughlin's office here, Senator Laughlin. And let me just read the headline here because it is pretty significant here. Okay, so of course, when I want to find it, it's going to be ridiculous. Okay, Laughlin bill to reform cannabis oversight clears committee. So he has introduced a bill to bring greater structure, accountability, consistency to the cannabis landscape. And it's it's out of the Senate Law and Justice Committee, does extensive work to modernize oversight of a rapidly evolving industry while prioritizing public safety and patient access. It's not a cannabis legalization measure. So again, it's maybe a stepstone to that, to the legalization of recreational use, but we're not there yet.
I don't understand it. Medicinal only then?
Well, it's just saying why the Department of Health has worked within its authorities, never designed to oversee such a complex and specialized industry. The result has been delays, inconsistent oversight, and a lack of clarity that patients and responsible operators are feeling. And so, yeah. And then, you've got THCA and Delta 8 being sold right in gas stations, and it's like it's kind of a mess.
It's a tough issue. I guess a majority favor legalization. I personally, I don't like it.
Right.
That's just me. But I get as a legislator, it would be difficult. I think it's difficult for Pennsylvania to watch people stream over the borders of other states to pay taxes on this thing.
Yeah.
And states are.
I think that's driving
budgets.
most of it is the money part of this.
Like, I get it.
There's a couple other things that are coming across your desk as a township supervisor coming from the state legislature.
This is what people don't normally see this, and I think it's important that when you're voting in a state like Pennsylvania, it goes to this whole redistricting thing. The Trib today, I assume it was Pittsburgh Tribune, had an article on the fact that all of this redistricting going on all over the place, the gerrymandering, quote unquote, is taking away competitive congressional races. Like, it's down to like 12 right now in a midterm election where, it's just everybody's.
You're talking about throughout the country?
Throughout the country. Because Florida just did it.
Yeah.
Virginia goes the other way. Texas goes one way. Now you're looking at Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, because of the Supreme Court ruling on that particular issue with race and redistricting. So all of a sudden now everybody's raced to be safe, to draw these safe seats. And that it won't be, these races won't be very competitive. I want people to understand, here's two bills we're looking at. You think about the neighborhood you might live in or the apartment, wherever you live in right now. Two bills in the Pennsylvania House introduced, HB 2186, and we'll see how they end up being voted on. One basically says that municipalities can no longer, from a zoning standpoint, we couldn't regulate accessory uses. So say you live in a house that we couldn't regulate garages or sheds or accessory buildings that go with it. For now, we want to say, listen, most municipalities said you can't have your shed closer than 5 or 10 feet.
Right.
You can't have these huge monstrosities that are built right on the property line. That is ridiculous. That's number one. Could get through the House. Number two, it's taking away. This one we're really concerned about is they're taking away the local's ability to define what a family is, saying essentially that anyone can live with anyone. Most of us have zoning laws that say you have to be related. And so you can't just run some commune.
In Edinburgh Borough, they only allow 3 unrelated people to live together. You can't have
in a college town. In a college town. Now you take a traditional single-family home subdivision, which people have chosen to live in, built homes, bought homes, put their whole life as that. And now all of a sudden, the state may come in and say, nope, you can have as many people live in your house as you want. Doesn't matter. Nobody has to be related. So these are Democratic bills. That's what they are. They're Democrats, in particular in Philadelphia, pushing these things through. And what might work in Philadelphia probably doesn't work in Wattsburg, Pennsylvania. Right? And so when you talk about redistricting and how important it is, and when people think, well, I don't like Trump, so or whatever, I don't like Biden, so I'm going to vote Republican, or I don't like Trump, so I'm going to vote Democrat. These types of bills, if they were to see the light of day, and the makeup of the House and the Senate in any state is so important. Could you imagine these types of, and they won't get through the Senate.
Right.
They might get out of the House. Be curious when you talk about some of the local reps. How does Ryan Bizzaro vote on a bill like that?
Sure.
Right? He represents Fairview and Mill Creek. Mm-hmm. I don't, but
again, isn't he got a situation where, as the head of the policy committee, he's like number 3 in charge or whatever. He might be one of the drivers of a bill like that.
I find it hard to believe, but I don't know. How does Bob Mursky vote on Pat Harkins?
Yeah.
I mean, these are very difficult things. In a state like Pennsylvania, right? James Carville said Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Alabama in between.
Correct, yeah.
Right? How they have to make decisions. But these types of bills come out. And pick your side. Maybe you agree with something like this.
Well, and
you don't
this,
like
and
conservative
this goes
things,
right
but-
to how important this year's election
Exactly.
is. Yeah, even though we have no primaries, and in fact, I think Harkins is kind of like unopposed totally.
I believe that's
there
true.
might be somebody that is looking as a write-in for Mursky. I'm not sure. There might
Allegedly,
be
a couple.
There might be somebody on the Republican side for Mursky. I'm not sure, but like most of people just kind of blow these midterms off, but they're hugely important. For things like legislation,
It is.
things like how basic education is subsidized, and are we gonna keep digging into our rainy day fund? All right, we talked about local, we talked about state. We'll get into what's happening with the feds after the news break. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. Live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio at 5th and State. It's our weekly political breakdown with Dean Pepicello, the Harbor Creek Township Supervisor, and just all-around guru here. All right, let's talk national politics. Okay, I watched the This Week show, Martha Raddatz. I mean, they're just pounding hard on affordability, the price of gas. I will say that the press is going a little heck with the joke because it was only 4 years ago that we had $5 gas. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it's a vulnerability for President Trump and for the Republicans. I mean, if this holds up or gets worse by the 4th of July, which is only now 2 months away, mm-hmm. and Labor Day, which is 4 months away, it's trouble.
You know, they've tried so hard to paint this war as military action. I guess not a war if Congress doesn't declare it, right. Whatever. I think there's trouble. That's just more of me, I guess, personally. The jury's still out. I will continue to tell you that. The jury is still out. Maybe, ultimately, the Iranian people are free. Maybe they're not harassing us and their neighbors. Maybe a lot of good things happen, right? But right now, none of that's happened. None of that's happened. They don't know who's in charge. We don't know who we're negotiating with right. At this point, allegedly. The Strait is not open.
But there's enough of a military complex that they're able to send drones and fast boats at commercial vessels, sure. Even today.
Absent leadership, the military is going to take control, right? So they're dealing with all of that. Maybe this ends up fine. Maybe. Like, we probably don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I get it, right? I get it. I don't think this thing has played out the way he had hoped. I really believe that today. And now, these are problems at home. The cost of stuff is ridiculous. And he ran on it, right? When you're the party out of power and you can run on these things, there were lots of things to abuse the Biden administration about, and it helped get Trump elected and Republicans elected. Now they're facing the same thing. And the electorate is never happy, right? That's how the American voter public is. That's fine.
And there was a memory in 2024 of better times in 2019 before COVID. There was a feeling that, beyond President Trump, 45 at the time, his antics, there was competency in the economy.
No doubt.
So my question is, though, even as there seemingly less competency going on right now, and lots of distractions like arches and ballrooms and everything else, and of course another attempt on him, which is insane. He's losing that competency piece. Meanwhile, the stock market is factoring in that there still will be an end to this war, and that we'll still be making money. Or is that whole thing total? And again, you don't come here to be an economist, but is the stock market no longer an arbiter of really what our economic well-being is, because it's so driven by the top 10 AI stocks?
No. Look at the numbers. It was down 600 or something right before 4 o'clock. Yeah. And I think that they are reacting to immediate world events and the war here. This military action they've moved quickly because of it. So it's because the ceasefire, the word today is the ceasefire could be failing, right? So the market's down, at least it was just before 4 o'clock, significantly today. So all of that happens. No, I think it's a borderline quagmire, and the only reason it isn't a quagmire is because there aren't troops on the ground. I don't see how they get to their end game.
And it's only been, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Okay, only. But
8 weeks.
How long was it going to be? It was a few weeks.
It was supposed to be 6 weeks.
Exactly, right. So we're just being fair here. Think about this. Stock market generally good, today aside, right? The all-time highs late last week.
Yep.
Jobless claims are down. Wages are up. There are a lot of really, really good things going on in this economy. But the cost of goods and services it's too high. That's what everyone thinks. That's just the reality. Blame who you want. Blame COVID still. Blame Biden. I don't know.
Well, you're always going to blame
But-
the administration in charge.
Exactly.
It's already been a year and a half.
My point is this, because it goes to your comment about the leadership in his last term. If Trump doesn't get embroiled in this war, and when have we not? At what point in the Middle East war that the U.S. was involved in was it successful? Can you name any? Right. Nobody can name any. So they're thinking this was a good idea and you were going to be able to do what no one else could do. I don't get it.
It's hubris. Yeah.
Right. Again, that's just me. I don't get it. But there are a lot of positives in this economy, all that are being overwhelmed by other things, international events, which aren't going great, and the price of goods. Imagine if Trump had focused solely on the economy. If he had closed the border, right? Not gone crazy with ICE. And you can argue about this all day, right? Let's just say he does that, focuses on the economy, gets rid of the ridiculousness of the far left and all the things that the Biden administration did that just weren't very, they weren't very popular. If he settles all that down and gets the economy back to where it was pre-COVID, because I think reducing taxes, reducing regulations, all of those things clearly have a positive impact on the economy. If he had focused just on the domestic issues and those things, where would he be? And I think he's in trouble right now, and I think Republicans are in trouble. I don't see how this changes any time before the midterms. And I think they have huge problems today.
I think you have said it here on this show. He wants to be a consequential president.
Yep.
He wants to be on Mount Rushmore. And that is driving a lot of this stuff. You know, let's grab a phone call. Hi, you're live on Talk Erie. Are you there?
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, I got one question, and Dino, I hope you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I got
Right.
a question about our gas prices. Why are our gas prices as high as they are when they say that only 10% of what we are getting is from the Hormuz Strait? Everything else is coming from us. I'd like to know an answer to that, and I think that it's just because of greedy gas companies. That's what I think, but. Anyway, I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thanks for the call. I mean, it's a global market, and so people buy stuff from us. We buy stuff from other folks.
And none of it. Listen,
issue.
I get it. That's fine. We can.
But there's also speculation going on.
I know, and you're right. And we can drill down, no pun intended, try and figure all that out. People don't care, man. They don't give a crap. You know what they know? They're paid $4.69.
That's
and
it.
Trump said he was going to fix it, and he did fix it for a while. The numbers went down significantly. Right? And now we're in this. And that's just what people see. That you bring me on to analyze politics, and politically, he's going to get punished. Republicans are going to get punished, like Democrats got punished for their things too. That's just the way this whole thing works. He wanted to be consequential. I will continue to say that. And I think the Abraham Accords were fantastic, right? The relations with Israel in the first term. I think Jared Kushner understood a lot of what goes on in the Middle East, and Witkoff and all of that. And I think Israel was influential in getting involved in this. I think they thought this whole thing would be easier. I think every president thinks it's going to be easier, and it never happens. It never happens. And I think it's closer to a quagmire than not. And I don't know. Maybe the decision will be right. Again, all these things might work out. It's premature to say that. But the midterms are coming, and control of the government is going to decide what kind of decisions are made going forward.
Yeah. What is the level of patience of the American public, and what is the sweet spot of saying? I mean, he was already claiming up until today that okay, it's pretty much over. We have a ceasefire, and we're just waiting for Iraq to come back to the table, waiting for somebody to be in charge so that we can negotiate a lasting peace and reopen the strait. And we're still waiting on that.
Iran fired today
Yes.
on ships, and we took out 6 ships. We don't know who they are, what they were doing.
And they were shooting down drones. And
It
all
continues.
Yeah.
This is Iran. This is the ace that they have. It's all the leverage they have left.
Right.
at
Oh,
this
the only
point.
card they have to play.
And they're going to use it. They've proven that so far. They know that Donald Trump cannot put troops on the ground. They know it. They know it would be political suicide. So they can take. We're no genius sitting here, Joel.
No, we're not.
But come on, how hard can that be to figure out? Iran can do this all day. All day. They sent over their little proposal.
What?
Guess what wasn't in there? Nuclear negotiations. Right? The one thing apparently this was about wasn't even mentioned because they're like, screw you.
They're not. There's no honest brokers on a maniacal apocalyptic death cult. I mean, basically, that's what they're acting as.
And maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
And if it works, it's incredible. And put them on Rushmore.
Yeah.
But you're not there yet. I think he thought we'd be there. We're not there.
All right.
That's the political reality of what they're facing. And I think there's some panic at the White House. And I think there's some panic from anybody who might be in what's left of competitive congressional races right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the other things that somehow he's still kind of working on. He brought in Joe Rogan. I don't know if this was a play for getting some more mojo, because Joe started getting irritated at him because of the war. So now he's taking a look at psychedelic drugs. Supposedly there is some testimony or some research that says they could be helpful for people with PTSD and other significant psychological ailments. I know that the core evangelical base is not down with, legalizing marijuana, legalizing weed, or the psychological, the LSD kinds of stuff. He keeps on getting off track, kind of like you were saying there.
I think they're desperate to find things that have support of more than half the country. But he did right to try, right? In the first term, if you remember that, right to try. So people with terminal illnesses, things that weren't getting approved or FDA was holding up or whatever. So he signed those things. Again, he does some domestic things, I think, which are really positive for the country, really positive. And he has the ability to sell them. I just think he's gotten caught up in some of these international things for consequence reasons that have not worked out for him. So a lot of good things come out of this administration. You don't hear about it, of course.
There's another one that for seniors or people that are in jobs that don't offer any kind of a retirement plan or even 401k or whatever,
sure.
He's starting to build, accounts that way.
Small potatoes. It's small potatoes compared to $4.69 a gallon and coffee that no one can afford.
How can I put $25 a week away when I can't? When I'm using that $25 just to get to work?
They can't. That's the reality. And yet, in spite of jobless claims being down, wages being up, all of those things, people still feel the same way. It is a political nightmare at this point. I think that's where they're at.
All right, let's go to the Democrat side. They're starting. Right now, I feel like the California governor's race, it might be a proxy for the national race. What are your thoughts on that? What's his face just had to drop out. And now the lady that is not so nice to her workers is kind of still the front runner.
I don't think it's a proxy for the national.
You don't think so?
No, I think the Democratic candidates are terrible. As we've seen, Tom Steyer and Kamala Harris, is she even in that race at this point? Right
now, Kamala has got the number one poll slot. It's only like 15%, but they're saying it's mostly because of her name recognition.
Katie Porter.
Kamala's not in the California race, but no. But Kamala's number one in the presidential preference.
Yeah, I can see that.
Along with Gavin Newsom there.
I think that'll change. No, I don't. Yeah. I just think the Republican candidates are better. I think people are fleeing California. You see the story out of Seattle today? Starbucks ownership headed to Nashville.
Oh, they're pulling out of Seattle.
Out of Seattle. About a 9.9% tax on anybody who makes more than $1 million in Seattle. That's on top of all the other taxes you pay.
Incredible.
People are fleeing. Watch the census change. Yeah. You want to talk about redistricting. Conservative states are gaining a population without a doubt.
Let's get one quick phone call in. The last call of the show here. Go ahead. You're live on Talk Erie.
Hello. Branchville here. Jim Wirtz being replaced or voted out of the election board. I firmly like that because it dismisses like any sense of impropriety that can come back at them by all the conspiracies. Yes or no?
I think that's definitely a reasonable conclusion. Yes.
Okay. Dean, any comment?
I don't know. I don't know the story yet, Joe. I don't understand what actually happened, what he was actually involved in.
Joe, I got to leave it there, bro, because I'm totally out of time. Thanks so much.
Okay, that's something to investigate. Again,
Yep.
I don't know.
We want to have Chris Drexel on the air here so that we can understand what's going on. Thanks, man.
The drinking game with I don't know is going strong.
He's always ripping me
He's
for
always
that. Always
punching on
crushing
you.
me for that.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, Dino. I just got to go.
You bet, guys. Thanks.
You appreciate it. Here is 6 minutes in front of 6.